All right, let me look at the statistics. Okay, all right. Clearly, there's enough people in here. Let's run it back like a running back. All right, Friday the 13th. Let me give you a quick rundown of the lawsuit and what we're talking about. If you don't know, I'm sure all you guys do. You watch all the videos, but if you don't know, the Friday the 13th lawsuit, what it was, Victor Miller, the original writer, was attempting to legally regain his copyright to the original script for Friday the 13th. In doing so, original director Sean Cunningham sued him and said that he was a work for hire and he had no legal right to claim back that original script to Friday the 13th. Okay? First run in this lawsuit, Victor Miller did win. Okay, so he regained the rights to Friday the 13th within the United States, only in the United States, and we'll talk about that more later and how this shit ain't over because of that juicy detail there. But of course, when he won, Sean Cunningham, Horror Inc., they did file an appeal, and that's where we've been. We've been in the appellate courts. We've been waiting to hear a result from this appeal, and it's been a long time, man. It's 2 years just in the appellate court alone.
Yeah, I mean, COVID definitely slowed things down, and then one of the judges died.
Yeah, one of the judges actually passed away after the hearing. So, yeah, that definitely complicated things and extended all this. And, yeah, it just – everything that could go wrong with the lawsuit seemed to go wrong. And I'm sure there's going to be more of that as we go along here. But yes, okay, so they did finally come to a conclusion in the appellate court. A decision has been heard, and Victor Miller once again did win. So Victor Miller now has the rights back to the original story of Friday the 13th. That includes, Pamela, young Jason, etc. And again, that's where things will get a little spicy. We'll talk about that in a second. Before we go any further, I do want somebody who knows a lot about law and his opinion. So we're actually going to take a look at Mr. Larry Zerner, copyright lawyer Larry Zerner, his tweets about this and where they're at and what's kind of next, okay? All right. He said, first, no real surprise here. The Second Circuit upheld the decision of the trial court that when Victor Miller wrote the F-13 screenplay, he was acting as an independent contractor and not as an employee. Therefore, the termination of copyright transfer that he filed is effective, and he has successfully reclaimed his rights to the first F-13 screenplay. On appeal, Horror Inc., the company that controls the F-13 rights, made a number of arguments that Miller's WGA membership should have been considered as a factor in determining Miller's employment status. But the court shut all of those arguments down. The court, correctly, in Larry Zerner's honest opinion, held that while union membership has bearing for employment and labor law, it really has no bearing in connection with copyright law. Once the court rejected the arguments based on the WGA membership, it analyzed the CCNV v. Reed factors, which are used in copyright cases to determine if the author is an independent contractor or employee, and held that Miller was not an employee. There's some hoopla for you. All right, I hope you kept up with that hoopla. In other words, Victor Miller won, okay? So what happens next? Again, these are in the words of Mr. Larry Zerner. What happens next? Horror Inc. can appeal to the Supreme Court, but there is also almost no chance the Supreme Court hears the case, which we already kind of knew. Is it possible? Sure, but unlikely. This should push the parties to make a deal. However, the same issues exist that have existed from the outset. Miller only owns the rights to the F-13, the first F-13 screenplay, and only within the United States. He does not own the rights to adult hockey mask wearing Jason. So, no new F-13 movie can be made until the parties can reach a deal over how to split the money from any new movie. Hopefully, after 5 years, someone will lock Cunningham, Miller, and their lawyers into a room and tell them they can't come out without a deal. So, yeah, there you go. That was in the words of Larry Zerner, who's kind of kept us in the loop, and he's been basically Copyright for Dummies 101. I mean, he's broke everything down for us many, many times. So it's really cool for him to continue to do this. And, yeah, I mean, we kind of all figured Victor Miller was ultimately going to win this, and he did. But it doesn't change a ton, all right? It just kind of pushes us in a direction that we want to be, because at the end of the day, adult Jason is where the money's at, and that's what we're going to want movies for, and merch for, and new toys for, etc. Yeah, so and that can't happen yet. That can't happen until they come to a legitimate agreement about where the rights go.
Right. It's really interesting because I don't know how that gets figured out. Is it the same lawyers that help, them reach an agreement? Is it an arbitrator, a third party completely? Victor Miller's lawyer is representing Disney now on their copyright lawsuits that are going on. This lawyer is a very busy man, so I would assume that it goes to some third party arbitrator. And yeah, they have to make a deal. Otherwise, no one's going to make any money.
Right. Yeah. At the end of the day, they had to figure out who gets what. And now technically, and Larry said this as well, technically Horror Inc. could team up with New Line, and they could make a movie called Friday the 13th, because the title has nothing to do with anything. New Line owns the trademark, so that's completely different. It's the story we're talking about, the character of Jason. But technically, Horror Inc. and New Line could squad up, and they could make a movie that has no mention whatsoever, or basically no backstory of Jason whatsoever. It is just a killer in a hockey mask. It is that image of what we know, but it's not the story of what we know. You can't reference really any previous films at all, because every movie up to this point, in some way, shape, or form, has Victor Miller as an executive producer and references the original. So it's still messy, man. Like, you could do that, and I keep seeing people say that, but it's just, do you really want that? Do we really want just a movie that is somebody in a hockey mask? I can find plenty, man. There are plenty of movies that have taken advantage of a hockey mask killer. There's a lot of them, but it's not Jason. It's not the hockey mask killer, right? So that can't happen until they figure out an agreement.
We've waited so long. And do we really just want, they're going to try to rush it, obviously, because they're going to want to make money. We're all waiting. And guess what? We're all going to go see it and give them money.
Yeah, right.
You want it to be good. Don't just want a Friday the 13th movie and say, oh my God, it's complete and utter dog shit, but thank God it's here.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And we're kind of at the point where we'll talk about the video game side of things. Okay. Of course, content, it's not going to continue. Okay, whether or not, even if it was fully settled, we're not going to see content in the game, but it's not. Okay, like legally, there is still a big mess sitting around the Friday the 13th trademark. And yeah, you still can't put content to the game. That's not going to happen. And as for Dead by Daylight, scooping up those rights as well, you could put a hockey mask killer and name him Jason and have it be part of a Friday the 13th trademark and have it be in there. But the thing is, like, technically, can you do these things and avoid the original story? Sure. But if there's one little piece that Victor can pull and his lawyer can pull, that's like, actually, Victor wrote that, Victor created that, and then they just lost a ton of money. They're not going to play with that kind of fire. All right. Board games, merch, and toys. Yeah, we'll probably continue to see stuff like that. But those big ticket items like video games and movies, they're going to make sure it's settled properly before they make any big steps like that.
Even like those board games, card games, whatever, like, you read the instructions and the little backstory, they avoid everything that they need to avoid.
Yeah.
Some of those board games are even tiptoeing on some rights that some studios have that they don't, and everything like that. So yeah, it's all a mess. It's always going to be a mess until they sit down and make a deal, which I know Victor has come out and said that he will happily sit down with Sean and make a deal.
Yeah. And then, Horror Inc. originally, when they made a statement ages ago, when the content was first announced to be over, they made a statement that said that their lawyers reached out to make a settlement. So it sounds like both parties at some point have been interested in a settlement, or they're just talking out of their ass and just trying to make themselves look good, which valid. Could be the case. I don't blame them. But we're now at that point. Supreme Court's probably not going to hear this case. It's time we push towards that settlement. How long is it going to take? I don't know. It's hard to even give you a time frame. Can it take another year? Can it take another 2 years? Maybe, man. We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars worth of a franchise here. Okay, I mean, there's a lot to play around with.
And if the game never happened, like that's a big chunk of money there that they wouldn't have to be worrying about. But now they have to take those profits into account, and that's the main reason why content stopped.
Yeah.
And because Horror Inc. didn't want to share any more money than they had to when this was all done.
Yeah. So I mean, and in terms of who won and who are we rooting for, because I did see some people mention like, is the outcome what you wanted? It didn't really matter. Didn't really matter. Okay, because I think the right thing is for Victor to win, right? But Victor winning, I mean, losing technically the problem resolves itself a little bit quicker. No offense, Victor. I'm glad you won, but technically, Sean would have won. Like then the rights are back to the way they were, and you can go crazy with whatever the hell you want F13 wise. The thing is, though, Victor, just like so many other creators, so many other writers from 35 years ago, is legally reclaiming what he deserves. So he deserved to win in my eyes, and I think he deserves a piece of that pie because I think he's gotten like what, a little over $100,000 in the last like 30 years, something like that, or $250,000, something like that. I mean, that's great. Considering Sean has probably made $100 million on the thing. It's probably a lot of money, So yeah, I think Victor deserves a little bit more of a piece of that pie, and I think a settlement will finally get him there. They got to get to that point. They got to get to that point.
Hey, hopefully soon. Will it? Slim chance, slim to none chance. That's soon.
Yeah. So I mean, that's pretty much the news. I know it's like, it feels good to say the lawsuit's over. Like, and it is over. It's legitimately over. There's a legitimate decision, but things are still messy when it comes to this IP.
Now, technically, Sean Cunningham Horror Inc. can still appeal again to the Supreme Court, but they're not going to hear it. There is no chance in hell that they hear it.
Yeah, part of me says that maybe there is more of a chance than we want to admit, just because this is technically one of the biggest copyright cases in history. But the thing is, the same decision has been made twice by, adequate judges. I think the Supreme Court will see that and be like, yeah, that's exactly what we would have said too. No point in us hearing it. That's probably what's going to happen. I'm just saying, it's a big boy case, no doubt about it.
Yeah. Listen, if any copyright case like that would go to the Supreme Court, it would be this Marvel and all these comic book owners lawsuits.
Even though I think those are all going to end in settlement. I think Disney's going to pay them all off, but we'll see.
I mean, as long as their money printer's working. I mean,
yeah, right. Okay, so since we're at that point, we got the news out. We're probably for the next like 30 minutes probably going to be answering the same questions over and over again, and I'm fine with that. I do want to point out a couple things though. CJ Voorhees back as a YouTube member. Thank you so much, my friend. He also super chatted on top of that. $5 buckaroos. Said, been meaning to renew my membership. Talk about the perfect time to do so. The lawsuit is over. Let's go. Yes, sir.
Let's
go.
Sir.
Then you got Tom McKeon. You think I said that right? McKeon? $5 super chats. It's about time. Let's party. Woo! Yeah, again, it's nice, right? It's nice that the lawsuit is ultimately over. And we get to say that out loud now, and it's not a lie. But, yeah, it still sucks to see what is Friday the 13th in this franchise that we love. It sucks to still see it in this position where a whole lot of legal issues are still going to be played out,
Yeah, it's like I don't know. It's like your favorite sports team that sucks for so long, and then you're just seeing everyone else just go past them. Like, we got Halloween, Scream, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre all going right now.
Right.
And it's Friday the 13th. It's been so long. 2009.
Yeah.
I mean, the game definitely breathed a whole lot of new life into the franchise itself. But as far as films go, yeah, 2009.
Yeah. And in terms of the game and new content, like we're never gonna get like more DLC and all the unreleased stuff. That's not gonna happen, right? Like that stuff's not gonna happen. But could it open a door for like a really like a limited edition physical release or something like that? Like technically, you could go down that road again and in the future get some sort of special edition, really, whatever. It's not likely. The game's not supported anymore. They moved on. Okay, 2 different dev teams have moved on from this game at this point, and you have Gunn, who really is the only hope that would ever keep F-13 going. They're in the process of a whole new game, and not to mention a whole other game probably with the whole Crow progress. Like their plates are full, man. F-13, they came in, they gave us a game that we love, and that's awesome. But at the end of the day, it was an absolute pain in the ass for them towards the end of the road just because of this lawsuit scenario. And I wouldn't want to, not that I'm sure they would happily make another game, but at this point, you know, there's no point in battling more legal issues and trying to make something happen. And not to mention how much fucking money it would cost to bring them all back.
Right. Yeah. You know, I love Call of Duty Black Ops. I loved it. It's old. It's past its prime.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, it's still fun as shit, but like
well, so is F-13. It's still there, you know?
Right. It's still there. You can play it, but there's been no content for a long time.
Right.
So they're just not going to come back. And, you know, I like to think of it. I remember when they announced the end of content, and that was a really rough day. Because Friday the 13th, the game came around for a reason. You know, it breathed a whole breath of fresh air into this franchise that was dormant for almost a decade. And you know, its time was shorter than we all wanted. Obviously, I mean, look how many people have been asking if the game is coming back. Like, this many people still care about it. It's sad, but maybe that was just the stepping stone we needed to get to this point in the lawsuit where negotiations can happen, new movie comes out, and a whole new fan base is behind it.